So, Dr. Hackett, you were here doing a workshop on the making of a science entrepreneur. Out of that workshop, what sorts of strategies do you think are going to be best for Canada in stimulating scientific entrepreneurship?
Well, we've got to start really early on that one. Some folks think that it's easy to go from being a great researcher to starting a company, making a new product and selling around the world. And some people can do that. And that's just fabulous. We know, Lazaridis now is essentially a $1.7 billion guy because of his work at Research in Motion. And there are two other billionaires that have come out of Research in Motion. So science entrepreneurship has created just the three billionaires, and it's great. But it's much tougher down at the companies that are working their way up through that. And the people in those companies who were scientists, who were so focused on their research and their idea, have to suddenly defocus and look out at this strange thing called customers and have to relate to them. And it involves a whole new set of skills for guys who've been focused down on something to now open up. And you can't simply layer these new skills on top of your research training. It has to start way earlier, I believe. That's the kind of thing that was coming out. We have to start in our schools. We have to emphasize risk-taking, and we have to educate the whole mind, not just this analytical, incremental, scientific, engineering, knowledge kind of mind. We have to embrace creativity and relationships and get our kids doing this. That's what was coming out. And there's an urgency about that. One way to put this is China is urbanizing. 300 million people, 300 million are moving to cities. That means 300 million new jobs are needed. That means a whole lot of new companies, and a whole lot of new companies that will be reaching out around the world for technology to put into products to sell back to us. So the world is shifting, and Canada has to shift. 85% of the wealth flowed through the developed world in the last 50 years, 85%. In 30 years' time, that'll be down to 45%. So we have to compete. And we cannot continue in the way we've been going. And we have to grow a lot more entrepreneurship.
That's incredibly interesting, actually.
Yeah.
So from a policy level perspective, what sorts of concrete policies might we implement to actually emphasize this risk-taking in the early stages of people's career development?
Right. So I'm going to say the first thing we need is actually, the first thing we need in the policy domain is frank speaking one to another. We have so much people talking by each other and so much not acknowledging the things that we have done incorrectly and not accepting that the fact that none of Canada's innovation agendas have changed anything and not being dissatisfied with that. So we need frank talking. What kinds of crazy things do we do in Canada? We support businesses through the tax systems. So if you make a profit, we're going to help you. But if you're growing, we won't. In the US, it's completely the other way around. That's why they have a lot of small companies that grow into big companies. We're doing it incorrectly. We have to change it. Canadian venture capital makes no return. The 10-year internal rate of return on venture capital in Canada for the last 5 years has hovered around 3%. I can do better with a treasury bill. We have to be frank about this. Government's intervention with venture capital has ruined the ability of Canadian companies to grow. We think we've done very well on the human capital side, but Canada ranks last in its production of PhDs. Last in the developed world. How can we have a knowledge economy without trained workers? So we need this frank discussion, and we need to turn things around quickly. So what I would do on the entrepreneurship front, Change the business incentives, as I've mentioned, switch that around, increase programs like IRAP and the Small Business Innovation, SBIR program, bring those to Canada quickly, give money to companies to help them to grow. Crazy thing. Venture capital, stop incentivizing investment, incentivize the return. So if you make an investment and it hits big, you should get a break then, not putting the money in. That just encourages bad money into crazy schemes. I won't go much further on that. We've got to double the rate of PhD productions. Governments, get around this. Talk, 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 talk. There's a huge agenda for government to do to ramp up the skills and knowledge in our people. That would be a good start.
No, that's excellent. I like that you have a broad vision and some concrete proposals.
Yes.
So what are you yourself doing to try and bring about this vision of yours?
Okay, well, so I was 62.
Last question.
I was 62. So you asked me what policy and government can do, and the short answer would be that really it can do nothing. Right? There are changes it can make, but the big change is going to come about in people. Things will only change in Canada when people in Canada are dissatisfied and move to a new way of being. How will Canada be in that when 45% of the wealth instead of 85% is flowing through here? We can be comfortable sitting on natural resource wealth, or our people can become dissatisfied and insist for their children there's a much more creative future. So I think the place to work is at the grassroots, and I'm working with folks in the business school and folks across the university who want to bring technology or research to market. And I'm trying to ignite in them the passion to be the next Mike Lesaridis, the next Julia Levy, the next Jeffrey Skoll, who has made $6 billion through eBay and is now putting $1 billion into social entrepreneurship. That's what I want to do.
Excellent. I'm glad somebody's on that. Hopefully all of us will be too. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Good. Thanks. All right. Good. I enjoyed that.